Welcome to another episode of Everybody's Got Something. I'm your host, Seth Hoffman. Today on the show we have local musician and founder of Rock 101 Academy, Kevin Herig, and bass player, occupational therapist, James Whiton. Let's get into it and have a good time. All right. Well, Kevin, it is a joy to have you here today, and looking forward to hearing your story. And I just want to share, I've been a appreciator of your music since before I knew you, and I'd just like to tell us a little bit about what's going on. Tell us about your journey.
Sure, man. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've been playing music since I think probably I was 12 years old. I started playing guitar because my brother played guitar. I quickly learned that there's magic in collaboration, magic in music. I found some buds and started playing in high school. We started a high school band called Aspercourt. That was the street name, where one of our
one of your albums I took on a road trip. I listened to it many times. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, that was our drummer's house. His parents were gracious enough to give us the garage and let us explore freely. And from there, some magic happened. Like we were able to kind of get a glimpse into the musical world, and we got to travel and play shows and learn about that world, and travel to Seattle and record our debut EP and open up for some of our favorite bands and go on tour. We're like in high school, college. We got some bigger opportunities to play on national TV and got some songs on airline, airplay, and whatever, and it was cool. I was hooked from that moment on. I started writing music, and again, like my freshman year of high school, and then I've been a songwriter since. I take everything in this life, and I try to see it through this lens of a songwriter and how to distill things into little snapshots of emotion and little lessons I've learned. And
do you remember? I'm sure you remember. Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the very first song you wrote?
Yeah, it's called TikTok, and I was obsessed with poker
Really?
I was like a little freshman
like actual
in high school.
I
liked playing poker.
Okay.
And I would stay in on Friday nights with buds, and we just play poker. But it was before that. I was on a trip, in the back of a 12-seater van, and it was like a camp trip, and one of our leaders ran into Barnes & Noble and picked up a Jack Johnson CD. It was like a little demo that was like in a surfer magazine, and it was like 3 songs on it. This is my first time listening to a musician that I felt like made songwriting something I feel like I could achieve. I could do this. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be honest, and it was simple. And it was from that moment I was like, oh, Jack Johnson was like my muse, and it's like I know how to write a song now. And so I wrote my first song, TikTok, and that was the song that actually I played for my buds, and that was the start of Aspercourt. I played with the drummer, and then the drummer had a next door neighbor who had just started playing guitar, and he had a bassist on the rugby team. My brother-in-law joined the band, and everyone's like, how'd you start a band? Everyone always wants to know how he started the band. I was like, it was so random.
Wow. And so were you with a band, or did you do solo stuff first, or did you kind of jump right into a band?
I was playing solo for a little bit. I mean, I wasn't gigging or anything. I was just kind of writing songs and recording on my computer at home, and and then pretty quickly, like in a band, first time performed was with a band, with drums and bass and guitar and everything.
And and you probably hear this a lot. You have a very special voice.
Thank you.
When did you realize that? Was that something that someone told you, or did you, when you would kind of play, were you like, it's kind of cool. I like the sound that's coming out of me.
I don't know. Again, kind of going back to Jack Johnson, I loved that his voice sounded effortless. It sounded like it was his talking voice.
Yes.
And that's always what I strive for, is to just find the voice that's not contrived or not forced in it.
Because it's kind of like passion, but it sort of like calms you. It's like it's a very special gift.
Thank you. Well, I mean, listening back to old recordings it's kind of painful to listen to. So I don't think it's always been that way. I don't think I was like, I have a gift I need to cultivate.
Okay.
It was more like, I think I knew I wanted to sing, and I think I just was able to find a voice that felt natural to me, and just continue to kind of cultivate.
Yeah. And performing, was that always something that came comfortably? Did you have any sort of stage fright? I mean, everyone has maybe a little normal, but what was that like for you?
Yeah, definitely didn't come super naturally. No, we started writing songs and playing recording in the studio, and playing live was it was tough at first for me. Yeah, I'm not like a flashy musician, I don't think. I'm not one for shredding into guitar solos and taking a bunch of this, the light. Like, I definitely have like a very subdued kind of style on stage, where I just to kind of let the music take you. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, so you said there was you when you're playing on national TV and things were going. Did you at that time were you thinking, all right, this is where my life's going. I'm going to be like a world touring musician. Is that something that you saw like, oh, my dream's coming true? Or were you just kind of like, oh, let's see what's going to happen?
It was fun. I mean, being just a naive, little, 18, 19-year-old, just playing music with my friends, I was really just like enjoying the ride. It was so fun. Our guitar player, his name's Nate Boitano, and his uncle is Brian Boitano, the famous 1988 gold medal Olympic figure skater.
Yeah,
and so he had a show on the Food Network, What Would Brian Boitano Make? And so we were, freshman year of college, and, we got this call from Brian. He's like, hey, how would you guys like to come be on the show? And so we, got to, we were flown out to San Francisco, and we got to play on the Food Network show and like eat all the food and play, come up with little ditties for all the recipes. And it was good. So yeah, I mean, I was just enjoying the ride. I remember the first time we got asked to play the Sunshine Theater, like minds were blown. We opened up for like Uncle Cracker and Five for Fighting, and it was amazing. And that night the big bands didn't bring their merch, so like we brought our T-shirts and stuff, and we sold like $1,500 worth of shirts. We're like, whoa, there's a future here. We can make money, and like play these bigger shows. And it was, we were hooked for sure. And we just really passionate about the band. And it was, we were in the band for 5-6 years, and just life happens for a lot of reasons. So from that point, like I continued just recording and releasing music under my own name. And so been doing that, ever since. It was in college that we were, you kind of asked if I knew I wanted to do this forever, and I, at a point I think I did. I was going to UNM to study business, to entrepreneurial business and music at the same time. And so everything I was learning in business school, I was just applying to the band, because it is a small little business. And so I think that, that's I think why we were successful early on, is like everyone was really serious about it. And like we had, orchestrated and scheduled practices, and we, coordinated well, we were organized, and I was, again, just applying everything I was learning to music, to the band. And kind of segueing into like what I'm doing now, there's always music and recording and playing live, but a huge part of my life is a music school that I started called Rock 101 Music Academy. And so I was a senior in college at UNM, and I had to write a business plan, and I wrote the Rock 101 summer session. So
that's where it was birthed,
that's
like
where it was
from an
birthed,
assignment, basically, kind of?
Essentially.
And before that, had that crossed your mind, or like, well, I got to think of something?
I was asked to be like a voice instructor at a summer camp that was kind of similar, and it was like, this is really cool. And it wasn't until, that camp kind of fizzled out, and I was like, I wonder if I could do something and kind of amp it up a little bit. Because, that's where in a band, in a rock band, is where I met all my best buds. I had all the best experiences. And so that was the whole goal of Rock 101, was to create opportunities for kids to have those same experiences and make friends, collaborate, build confidence through an instrument. Music is amazing. It's such an amazing community builder and connector, and we're just trying to squeeze as much as we can out of it. And so now we're in year 15 of Rock 101.
Incredible. Can you just, how did it birth? Like, I'm always so fascinated when something goes from an incredible idea to reality, because that's it's like a magical thing. Can you just like how did it started as an assignment? Can you just take us just to the early steps of taking, all right, now how do I bring this into the world as a real thing?
We started our I was a scrappy little 21-year-old. I was like, I had enough naysayers that were fuel to the fire to be like, okay, I can do this. A lot of people are saying I can't do it, I'll figure it out. So I wrote sponsorship proposals to, Music Around and Guitar Center, Grandma's Music, and Whole Foods for snacks. And I found, I called 30, 40 different places, and finally found a church that was willing to allow us to use their space if we were the instructors were the Vacation Bible School band. So we were the band for a bunch of these kids, and then we got the summer for free. And then, we got some donated instruments. I asked all my band buddies if they would come and, what we were doing, but will you come and teach some kids? And we just kind of tweaked the program. The whole point was just having so much fun. You know, I still am mentored and friends with some of these kids who are in season 1 of Rock 101, like, you know, 14, 15 years ago, and now a lot of them have graduated and turned into instructors themselves.
Incredible.
So, you know, we're around long enough to see really cool stories like that happening. But, you know, for what started from like 30 kids our very first summer, just kind of winging it and just knowing that music is going to take the reins. Like, we just have to kind of be there, you know, be goofy, be fun, be open for these kids to come out of their shells. But, you know, great instructors, great local musicians, a really cool collaborative community here, especially like the music scene here. I attribute a lot of the success of Rock 101 to. And so, you know, year 2, it grew to 80 kids, like more than double. There was just a huge need, and that's what we saw in Albuquerque. Is like, we need more places for kids to be themselves, and not everyone's an athlete. Like, we need we need places for kids to be creative and meet other kids, to make it easier for them to start a band. That was always like, how do you start a band? It's like, we need to build a community for people to find friends. And then the next summer, 120 kids, and then 200, and then we started our year-round program where we're teaching one-on-one lessons. You know, fast forward.
So it started as just a summer program?
It started as a summer program, which I think is unique to a bunch of music schools.
Yeah.
A lot of music schools start with one-on-one instruction, more traditional lessons, and then, you know, summer, their numbers kind of dwindle, so they need to start a summer camp. We did it the opposite way, where it's like, we know we want to collaborate, play shows, have fun in that group setting, and then we kind of filled in the gaps with one-on-one lessons and individual proficiency and whatever. But now there's tons of programs for all ages, from 3 years old, our little Freebirds program, all the way to adults. We do a sip and strum where we'll go to a local brewery, you know, a coffee shop bar, and we'll you know, have 15, 20 adults there with the guitars, and we just learn a new song each week. We do adult jam nights. We do have a band league program for like our 12 to 18-year-olds that want to be young professional musicians, and we take a deeper dive than what we can do in the summer, where they actually get to play bigger shows like the Chemo Theater and the Lobo Theater and Outpost Performance Space, and they get to work with the graphic designer to create their own logos, and they really get like an idea of what it means to value yourself as a musician, how to communicate with bookers, and get what they're worth, you know, like turning into like a little business. Because
so all those years of your business training is really incorporated well.
Sure, I want to pass that to the kiddos.
Because a lot of times that's probably how people burn out. They're like, I can't do anything I need to get a real job or this or that.
Sure, well, and then we're you know, raised hearing that, right? It's like, you can't make it as a musician, and I think we're here to show these kids that there's a lot of opportunity in music.
Incredible. So now what are the numbers now as far as how many people are involved in?
You know, so fast forward, Rock 101 I have a staff of 30 people, including like 6 admin and then a bunch of instructors, and we're teaching about 400 kids a week. One-on-one lessons in band league and summer sessions. You know, I have 300 kids this summer. We have a couple more weeks left, and they're fun. So a couple locations. So we're still out of. We rent space from a church, which is a great, you know, collaborative space, and then we have another space in downtown Albuquerque. So we're trying to just provide those opportunities no matter where you are in Albuquerque.
Yeah. So do you ever sometimes just like step back and think like, wow, I created this, like this thing, like an idea that has evolved into something that's involved and inspired so many people. I mean, what's that like?
I'm so grateful. I mean, my favorite experiences, my favorite memories and friends have formed from Rock 101, and you know, it wasn't all me, you know, like I wrote the business plan, whatever, but very quickly I had to find people that were willing to also give their heart to this, and we've had instructors that have been there since year 1, year 2.
Incredible.
Students, again, like I said, that started with Rock 101, that turned into interns, that turned into instructors themselves. So there's been a whole lot of support along the way, and I think what was not written in the business plan was the forming of this community.
Yeah.
I wasn't writing a community building business plan like I didn't know I was, you know, but that's definitely what has happened. It's kind of grown its own legs, and I'm just really happy to be a part of that.
Incredible. Well, I'm sure your family, anyone who knows you, is like, I'm so proud of this boy. Incredible. Well, it's an incredible gift. I mean, I think music is just a powerful gift, especially to kids. I know when I was a kid, I was like, I'm bored. I always said, once you play music, you'll never say that phrase again. You'll never say I'm bored again. Well, you definitely have a gift for collaborating and connecting with people. Just today, our other guest that we were blessed to have, James Whiton, you said, hey, how would you like to join me for a song? Can you tell us about the song you're going to do together?
Yeah, by the way, I love James. Been a big fan of James for a long time. You know, we were talking like, when did we first meet? And it's been over a decade of.
And you guys didn't even know you were going to be on the show together. This
no,
is
we
just
met in the parking lot. And he's like, are you today too? Maybe we got double booked.
Yeah.
But just before we started playing, we decided to kind of collaborate. So you'll hear us playing a tune that we, kind of just figured out in a couple minutes. But that's testament to James' musicality. And so James has been a big supporter of Rock 101 and my music. And he's come and played for the kids. We usually have a guest band performance every Wednesday in the summer. He's come and talked with the kids and inspired kids. And so, getting to play with him on this stage was a special serendipitous treat today.
Excellent. All right, well, let's have a listen.
Cool.
Tell they were brothers, one dressed like the other, takes his turn to sing. He dons his brother's hat and slings the tattered strap. A steel resonator rings. Tithings for sins, help us fill up this tin. I read the sign by the dog at their feet. His song was the same that the first brother sang, a blues on a dead end street. Locked on his ice, just another passerby, here in the same line, again and again. I tossed in my tip, left with a song on my lips. I think I'll help those brothers find an end.
All right, we are here with the man, James Whiton. It's a pleasure and an honor to get to be sitting here and hear your story. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got started and what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks for having me,
Yeah.
by the way. This has been really fun. It's a serendipity of playing with Kevin and just being able to play in a really nice studio with nice sound. And and then hearing your interview with Kevin was amazing too.
Yeah.
You're really good.
Thank you.
You ask very thoughtful questions.
Well, I'm genuinely interested. That's why I feel so blessed to get to do this.
Yeah, well, thanks.
To get to sit down with people who are like my heroes of mine. I have an excuse. So that if I didn't have the show, I'd be like, hey, can you come over to my house so I can ask you questions? Now it's, but yeah.
Well, I'll come over anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I grew up here. I was born here in Albuquerque, and my mom was a classical bass player for the New Mexico Symphony. She was with that organization for almost 30 years.
And did you grow up, she was already doing that? Like, as your earliest memories, that's just...
Yeah, my parents met in college because they were both involved in music. My dad's a drummer, my mom's a bass player.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, because I play the bass percussively, if I just kind of inherited that genetically, from both of them. So yeah, that's how she made her living when I was a kid, teaching privately at home and playing with the symphony.
And were you always intrigued? Were you drawn to it, or was she like, oh, come on, you should try it? Or were you like, I want to do this?
I was drawn. I loved music. I mean, you grow up with a family that makes music, like primarily, and the house is just filled with music all the time. It was part of who I was, and Mom would be blasting classical music on the stereo, really nice stereo, right, and just like blasting it. And then in high school, I got embarrassed by that. I was like, oh, that's not cool. But, when I was a kid, kids love everything. And I love working with kids with music, too, because they're so open-minded. I think as we get older, we start to define ourselves not just by what we like, but by what we don't like. And
true.
so we narrow our exposure to things that could otherwise be, But yeah, I loved it. She started me on cello when I was 3, and then I think the story goes that she gave me a cello and was teaching me to play, and then stepped away for a minute and came back, and I'd broken it in half.
Oh my!
So she had it repaired.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that at all.
That's her story.
Right? Exactly. But then, with closer supervision, I continued and progressed, and then she was actually the orchestra teacher in my elementary school, so I went through that whole program with her. And then the Albuquerque Youth Symphony program, I was really involved in that through middle school and high school, and I went to college for music. And, it was a very classical music-oriented instruction, and around my freshman year of college, I just started picturing myself wearing a tuxedo every Friday and Saturday night and playing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony for the 2000th time. And I was like, I don't know. And so I started branching out and playing some jazz and rock and roll. And what immediately struck me is that there's this invisible wall between the audience and the orchestra, and they don't really interact. And when you go play a nightclub, there's no wall. People come up sometimes in the middle of a song wanting to talk to you. And I really liked the social aspect of that, and being able to interact with people who liked my music, and I found that really validating. So I left conservatory and came back to UNM and played in whatever bands and orchestras I could to pay my tuition, and then was playing stuff on the side and started playing a lot of gigs, like at the Dingo Bar, at Fred's Bread and Bagel, at EJ's Coffee House. And so I formed this band, collaboratively formed. It wasn't like I put it together, but we called ourselves Apricot Jam, and we played all over town.
And who was in that, and what was the makeup of that band?
It was 2 acoustic guitarists who both sang beautifully, and then me on bass, who did not sing beautifully, but I did my best. And we played, all the time in Albuquerque, and this kind of counterculture of people grew up around us, and it became this scene, and it was lovely. And then I graduated from college, and we started hitting the road, and then I was in a car accident that smashed my left arm. Whoa. So they said I would never play again, and they managed to save the arm with like reconstructive surgery after surgery after surgery. There were seven reconstructive surgeries. And that was my introduction to occupational therapy. The surgeon had his favorite OT come and work with me. And so I worked with her for like a year.
And when was this?
This was 1994.
Okay, 94.
And at one point the surgeon even called her up and was like, "You're filling his head with these false promises. He's never going to play again."
Wow.
And she put her foot down and was like, "If he thinks he's going to play, I want him to think he's going to play." And I went on to play for the next 20 years professionally. So she was right.
Do you still know this person? I mean,
I do.
Sounds like an angel.
I do. She was amazing. And When I was thinking about retiring from playing music full time, I started taking people out to lunch and just asking them what they thought about their job. So she and I had stayed in touch through the years. Amazing. And I took her out to lunch and she said, OT is the best job in the world. She was like, if you get bored, there's another thing you can do. There's like all these different settings and you get to work with people and you get to have fun with them and really help them with their lives. And so I went and applied to the school. And got in. And but in the intervening period after, Apricot Jam, we did pretty well. We were touring all over the country, and then we moved to Portland, and it was kind of like when you are having troubles in your relationship and you say, well, let's move. That'll make things better, It didn't make things better. So I moved up to Seattle, and after a few years, I joined this scene in Seattle that was very acid jazz fusion, really cool scene. And then I hooked up with my old buddy, Eric McFadden, who I had known from Albuquerque. And he immediately was like, I'm taking you on the road. And so I spent the next 11 years on the road with him. And
incredible.
We did, 250 shows a year.
You guys had a band, or you play with different types of people?
We had a rotating cast of drummers, so it was a trio.
Okay.
And then we had guest artists playing with us all the time. Eric's very connected, and so because of that.
Any special memories that you're like, oh, that was cool that time playing with this person or that person?
I mean, yeah, Vernon Reid and Will Calhoun from Living Colour, like two of the finest musicians. Bernie Worrell from Funkadelic, and he played with Talking Heads and Laurie Anderson, and so we actually did a whole tour with him playing with us, and just an amazing human being. I loved spending time with him. I got to play with George Clinton and P-Funk, I got to play with Eric Burdon from the Animals. Like, I mean, it just keeps going. Incredible. Thomas Dolby, Lady Keir from Delight, like, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, and I apologize, but it
Paul
was...
McCartney be like, you didn't mention me. Thanks a lot, buddy.
And actually, thanks to playing with Eric, and I relocated to San Francisco, and I was living there to make touring easier. And then I got the call from Tom Waits, and that was the biggest call of my life.
So, what was that like?
It was amazing. The first call,
actually, the phone rang and it was Tom Waits on the phone?
That was his manager. Yeah, restricted call, right? And we don't answer those, but for some reason I picked it up, and it's Tom Waits' manager. And she says, Tom would like you to come and audition, So, I mean, I've been a huge fan of his music since I can remember. And so I drove out to his property in Sebastopol, California, and get out of the van, and there he is just standing there, and he goes, wow, that's a big smile, And it was just me and him and his wife, his partner, who's also his manager and producer. And so they just asked me to do a bunch of things, like, can you make this sound? And can you do this? And so I didn't know how that went. I felt like it went well. He put me at ease, which was nice. He's really funny
just
guy.
There for the day, or?
Yeah, just for a few hours, right? And then a couple weeks later, I get this call. Okay, Tom wants you to come and record with him. But it was doing demos of all of the songs that would eventually become this record. But he just wanted to get them down. Sure. And he said that bass really fit well with his voice, so that's what he liked.
How about that?
And so I'm sitting there recording these songs that no one has ever heard, and new Tom Waits songs, and we're literally set up in like a bathroom with just like 50 mics everywhere, and he's showing me these songs.
I'm here with Tom Waits in the bathroom.
I was crying, like I literally was losing tears out of my eyes, and I couldn't believe it. At times I had a really hard time concentrating on the form of the song he was showing me, because I just was this rush of like, I'm actually doing this, you know. So then a couple months later, I got the call to come and record tracks for the album, and so it was beautiful. There were some musicians on those sessions who I really respected, who I looked up to. My phrase about it is, I felt like a kid that got to stay up after dinner and like listen to the adults having a conversation. It was lovely. And then he put out the record, and it turned out that Keith Richards was playing and singing on a couple of the songs.
So you were on an album with
like,
Keith
with
Richards?
Keith Richards. And I'm thinking, like, he's got the headphones on. Keith Richards is listening to my bass.
Right.
And I started this little conceit about, I need to hear more bass.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right.
But,
How
that
cool
was
is that?
pretty amazing. Wow. And then Willie Nelson covered that song on his most recent record. So now I feel like Willie Nelson probably heard the original. So Willie Nelson has also heard me play bass.
I like that bass. I want to cover
Yeah,
this song
right.
too. Yeah.
Like, why didn't you call, Willie? Just amazing. What a great opportunity.
Wow.
And shortly after that, the Eric McFadden Trio kind of imploded. So I stuck around San Francisco for a couple of years and just didn't feel like starting over. You know, going back to sleeping on people's floors, you know, and driving around the country in a van. And so decided to move back to Albuquerque. My parents were getting a little older. I wanted to take advantage of the time that I had to spend with them. And it turned out to be like the best decision I've ever made, other than asking my wife to marry me.
Yeah.
Which
Can you tell us a little bit
about
that, about your connection and how you met and what she means to you?
Yeah, she was a bartender, and she worked for this tiny little dive bar in San Francisco. And I had gotten to know the owner of that bar, and I said, I'm looking for somewhere to try out this solo looping thing, you know, with low pressure. Yeah. And so he said, I'll give you $30 and all you can drink. And so I would come in on Monday nights, and I decided to throw my...
And where was this? What was the place?
It was called Retox in San
Retox.
Francisco. Yeah. It was a great bar. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I love it. There, many of the people that were regulars there are still good friends with me and Rose. And so... yeah, it was just one of those special moments in time and special places that a bunch of people came together, you know.
And so when you met her right off the bat, were you like, ooh, did you seem like a cool lady? Or were you like, ooh, I think I'm in love? Or
I thought she was so cute, you know. But I was hooked up, and she was hooked up. Yeah. And so we hung out for a good year and a half. Just became really, really good friends. And
that's the best way to start, a
right?
foundation of friendship. Yeah.
Then you know,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I came to the bar one night, and I hear her talking to another friend of hers, and she says, yeah, I finally dumped that guy. And so I asked her out that night. and it was the simplest date ever. We got some banh mi, and we went to...
Some what?
Vietnamese sandwiches,
okay.
banh mi.
Okay.
And went to a bar that they had dollar shot night, and that date ended up lasting 4 days. Like, we didn't leave each other's company for 4 days.
Incredible.
So she grew up in San Francisco, and she was looking for a change, and I was looking for a change, so we decided to move back here. Well, for her, just to move here.
Sure.
And she loves it. I love this line. After about 2 weeks of living here, she says, you know what I like about New Mexico is no one really feels like they're that important.
Right. I think it's like the least pretentious place in the world. Right. I love it. I think it's the best city. I love it. That's such a great way to. That's a great way to put it.
Really cool, especially coming from California.
Yeah.
So, we've built a really beautiful life here. You know, she works hard, and I ended up becoming an occupational therapist, and I work hard, and we have just this beautiful existence. I'm so grateful. Like, incredible. I got to do 2 things in my life that were so fulfilling and meaningful, and you know, and I've had the luxury of having some close friends and some very supportive partners along the way. And you know, like Kevin was saying, my parents, I mean, my mom, every time I make a CD, she buys like 25 copies and gives them to all her friends, and she's at every gig, and you know, she's in her 80s now, and she's right there in the front row, like listening, and sometimes she'll conduct me, like, you know? Yeah, exactly. And my dad, you know, same thing. He'll sit right in front and just close his eyes and listen to the music, and he's lost. And then, you know, when I finish the song, he's like yelling and clapping, and it just feels so good.
Incredible,
you know?
Incredible. What a gift to be raised by those people, and then to see their appreciation for what you do. I mean, what a priceless gift.
Priceless.
And so you're talking about your solo looping, which we're going to get to hear a sample of. How did that come about? Was that something that you'd been experimenting for a long time? And how did you fine tune what you do?
Yeah, was playing with Eric McFadden, and they were these friends of ours, Sam Bass, who's a cello player, and Robin Coomer, who's a vocalist, and they started a band where they were both looping in sync with each other, and I was just blown away. I'm like, I have to do this, you know. So they ended up giving me my first loop pedal, which was great. And
Do you remember which pedal it was? Was it a Boss?
It was a Boss. It was the Loop Station RC20.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started using it with Eric on stage, like just little ambient sounds and stuff at first, and then, you know, it's very difficult in a live setting with a live drummer to do any looping because it diverges, and then it can just train wreck very easily. But then I started a band in Seattle that I called James Whiton and the Downtown Apostles, and so I did a lot of looping with that, and the drummer was so sensitive, he was able to keep on the loop
if there's any irregularities, just flow with it.
Yeah, he could just do it, you know. And that, I think, probably my favorite band that I've ever had. I mean, no shade on Eric. Eric is maybe the best guitar player I've ever seen live, and a true brother of mine. You know, we've going around the country playing, you know, traveling 300 days a year and playing 250 shows a year, and that's a very deep relationship.
And I remember last I saw you guys at Low Spirits, I think, some time ago, and you guys just blew us all over. It was pretty magical.
I loved that band. It was great. And somehow we always found a good drummer too, which is really,
I bet they're
really
like,
awesome.
I can play with you two guys. Sign me up.
Yeah.
So tell us about the piece that you're gonna.
Yeah. So like I said, I started experimenting with the solo performance, just me by myself, and so this is actually a song that first appeared on the Downtown Apostles record, and then I put it on my most recent solo record called Perchance to Dream, and it's called Alone. And the concept for Perchance to Dream is it's kind of a life story of me, I guess, and some of the pitfalls that I went through. And at the end of the album, there's the sound of like a clothes dryer, like you're at a laundromat, right? And I remember sitting in a laundromat just being like, I want to write a song that's just about sitting alone in the world with all the activity around you, all the voices and sounds and everything of the environment. And so, yeah, that's kind of where that song came from.
All right, well, let's check it out. Well, absolutely mesmerizing.
Thank you.
It takes me back to when I think when I first heard you. I think that was the first time I ever even had an idea what looping was. And I don't know if you know, I do a bit of looping myself nowadays. So you're the first inspiration for that. But I wonder if you just, how do you, when you're composing a looping piece, what is your process? You know, because there's, you know, singer-songwriter and a guitar has their process. What's the process that you have when you write a song like this? Like the technical process.
Yeah, it's different for each one. You know, they get birthed from different things. Sometimes I really love to start when I practice by just exploring the instrument, just like making sound and seeing what comes out, trying to find that flow. And so sometimes I'll discover something that, oh, that's kind of cool, and I'll just get it down, record it real quick, and keep moving. But sometimes it's a chord structure that I really like. Then sometimes I take a part from one and a part from another and see if they fit together. And then there's really the mechanical part of the loop pedal, right? How can I use this very static thing and still keep it interesting? And so I can stop it, I can maybe try and record another one, but that never seems to go well for me, you know? It always seems to be better to just keep one, and then if it stops, another thing starts, and that keeps going, you know? Doing covers is an interesting process too, because it's trying to replicate this song with one instrument and orchestrating and layering. And it's nice with the bass because I get the strings and the percussion and the
it's incredible all the sounds
plucking,
you get. Most
know?
people, when they think, oh, an upright bass makes this sound, you know, and and hear all the different sounds and tones you get. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I think that comes from classical music too. You know, I always loved like Rimsky-Korsakov, like these great orchestrators, Ravel, and just seeing how they took something fairly simple but really made it just lush and gorgeous with all the different textures and builds and decays that they would write into it.
Yeah, wow, very cool, very cool. So, what keeps you excited these days? It sounds like you have a true passion for your job and what you do, and you're blessed with a wonderful wife and your parents you get to have time with. What are just nowadays? What are things you're looking forward to these days?
Oh man, you get me a little teary. I mean, I'm just so grateful that I have everything that you mentioned. I feel so it's such an amazing gift. I have two little Chihuahuas, and I've had Chihuahuas ever since. I mean, my first dog was a Chihuahua mix, and I started wearing these kind of Chihuahua shirts every time I perform about 10 years ago. So I spend a lot of time with my dogs. We have a little cabin up in the Jemez, and we like to go up there a lot in the summer. It's really nice to get away. My dad built it in the early 90s.
Right?
Yeah,
Incredible.
and it's like mom and dad, both of them together. It's just what an amazing gift. I can't even tell you. So. Yeah.
And what do you do when you're up there? What is life like when you're up at the cabin in Jemez?
It's surrounded by forest, and I take my little dog, my little Jack Russell Chihuahua Cross. We go on like 5 walks a day, and you know, sometimes we just go right through the forest. Other times we follow paths or trails. And we have some 4-wheelers I like to go ride around. It's like lazy man's hiking. I like that a lot. And then there's always work to be done. You know, any structure in the woods, you've got to really work on to keep it going. So we do a lot of work too. But I like that kind of work. I find it really fulfilling, and it's good. Keeps me in shape.
I wonder, you were mentioning about the occupational therapist who affected you in such a positive way. Can you share about some, maybe a patient or something you've had that is memorable to you?
Yeah, you know, debating between two. One is more musical, so I'm going to pick that one. I had a patient who was severely hearing impaired, and I was out playing drum and guitar with another patient who really liked music and wanted to learn, and so we were switching back and forth and showing him things. And this patient who's severely hearing impaired was so entranced. And so when the session was over, I went, got a little whiteboard and said, "Are you interested?" And she was like, "Yes." And so I got a drum and a bass guitar because of the lower frequencies. And to see her face when she was playing the drum, and just like, I mean, it was, and you know, I had seen her not being all that happy for a while, and to see her just beaming, like just the flow of the music, feeling her body, and you know, and it's counterintuitive. I would have never thought to play music with someone who can't hear, right? But it's the power of music. I mean, it transcends a lot. And so I wrote to her about Beethoven, who would compose with his head on the piano, you know, and she liked that. And but yeah, it was really, really meaningful. I think that you know, for a lot of people, music can communicate things that language has trouble with.
Yes.
And so I use music extensively. I mean, it's always pretty much every session.
I mean, who would have thought what an incredible skill and gift you have to give towards this other career. I mean, who would have thought that these would go together so magically?
I know. I thought I was stopping one thing and starting another, and then there's just this continuity between them that is pretty beautiful.
Incredible. Well, I mean, what a gift to someone who probably thinks, oh, well, music is for other people, but not for me. And then to be able to not only feel it, but participate in it. I'm sure it was a life-changing and spirit-lifting thing. Incredible, incredible. Well, can you take us out with any words of wisdom that you've acquired, either heard from someone, but that has helped you on this mighty journey of life that you are?
Yeah, you know, two quotes that have been with me a lot over the last several years. One is, there's two ways to get enough. One is to constantly be striving for more and more and more, and the other is to desire less. And the other quote, which I think is very apt for people who are attuned to music, is, "Comparison is the thief of joy." Wow. Right? I just want to be a better musician than I was yesterday. I don't need to be better than John or Jack. Just keep progressing myself, and that's a joyful process.
If we could follow those two things, desire less, you'll be richer, and that's true. I mean, how many people, they get all caught up? Well, this person, this you could do is good. Look, that person, they did this better. Wow. Well, I thank you, and hopefully everyone who's hearing this will take that to heart and will be a load off and a freeing mantra. Well, thank you. Well, James, it's been just an incredible inspiration to get to talk to you and know you a bit better, and blessings to all of your patients and your parents and your wonderful wife and your sweet dogs and all you do, and it's just an honor. So
thank you, Seth.
Thank you so much.
What a pleasure, man. Thanks for doing this, for building this community.
I feel very blessed. Thank you so much.
Everybody's got something that nobody else has got.